Good afternoon, Metamorphosis Group and Sustainable PH viewers. I'm Danica Octa, President and CEO of Metamorphosis Group and a host at Sustainable PH. Now, I know why you're here. The last few days, we've been debating about that viral tweet about whether or not a fresh grad deserves 37K or 60K after that controversial argument that the fresh grad from Ateneo did not accept a 37K offer because she wanted a 60K offer. Here in this webinar episode, we discuss what the best salary is. We've invited our host from last episode, Rickson Singson-Ke, and we have a special guest today, one of our coaches, Melboy Pangan. We talk about our opinions about the matter that are filled with some factual basis, and we are going to help you understand, and you are free to ask us any questions that come up in your mind throughout the entire episode. Happy to see you all. So let's. Hi, good afternoon, everyone who are here. Our viewers from Sustainable PH and from Metamorphosis Group. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know this is an exciting episode for a lot of you because you want to know about salaries. But before everything, I just want to introduce myself as well as my co-hosts. I'm Danica Octa, President and CEO of Metamorphosis Group. And today we're going to talk about our opinions about the matter that filled with
Well, good afternoon, Sustainable Filipinas. No? So, pardon for the new normal situation that we are encountering. No? So, Danica will be joining us shortly again. And with us, I'm also, I'll introduce myself. No? I'm Rickson Singson-Ke, one of the hosts. Ren would not be joining us this afternoon, this episode, but of course, next episode, we would expect him again. And with us, we have a special guest, Melboy. No? So, can you introduce yourself also, Melboy?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rickson. Thank you for having me here. My name is Melboy Pangan, one of the career and executive coaches of Metamorphosis Group. On top of that, also co-founder and CEO of GrowUp.ph, which is a business registration solutions company for the next generation of entrepreneurs, millennials. Thank you for having me, Rickson. I think we're also still waiting for Danica.
Yeah, it's all right now. So while Danica is still catching up with our connection, we would like to do. We have a lot of things to discuss now. First is we want to know. Let me share this question with you. What compensation is fair for fresh graduates? Yeah.
That's a big question nowadays, given that tweet that went out now, Rickson. So many comments from different sides, whether they were recruiters or the students themselves or fresh grads. I think fair is a big word, but in my opinion, really, sometimes I like to ask the questions: what skills are fair to provide as fresh grads, right? Once you have, I see Danica's now coming in. Should we continue? Should
Yes, I'm
we?
so sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
some
Okay,
technical
welcome back.
difficulties.
we already started with the first question, but I'll let Melboy finish his side, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
go ahead.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
continue. Yeah, so what compensation is fair for fresh grads? Sometimes I like to ask the question, what skills are fair to provide, right? And the pay that reflects the quality of those fair skills, that's a fair compensation. Usually also depends on the time that you're in. So now it's pandemic, that they also have a big impact on the fair compensation, but also the industry. Some industries have a very low base, but they have commission start with a high starting wage. So it also depends on the industry that you're in. It's not really just one amount that we can now just pinpoint. So that's on my end, my opinion on this next question.
Danica?
What about you guys?
Okay, actually, for me, and I think a lot of people also agree with this, the most fair compensation is the one that you, as a job seeker or an applicant, and the employer agree to. It varies per person. It depends on what your priorities are, your lifestyle of choice, and also the kind of budget the company has. Also taken into consideration other factors as well, 'di ba? So that's the most fair compensation for me. Now, what about you, Rickson?
So to add what you have shared, no, I like what you've said, no, the value. Uh, because value has two sides of, it's a sided coin. It's on the side of the job seeker and also on the side of the company. So the job seeker, the one that will wake you up, that compensation that will wake you up every day. We're talking about every day you have to face that work. And of course, on the side of the company, that amount that the company is willing to invest on you. So it has to meet in between so that the company is willing to pay for that and you are also willing to work for the company. So that's the fairest for both parties.
That's right. It's an investment, no? So, which actually is going to lead us to the second question. Ano, sobrang exciting naman itong second question. This is one of the most common questions I got from people who went straight to me when they found out about the issue. The second question that they wanted to know the answer to is it greedy to ask for more money or for a bigger salary that's beyond the job offer? Are job seekers greedy for asking more than what's in the job offer? What do you think, Melboy?
Yeah, greedy, big word, no? Greedy is usually a word or sort of perception. I'd like to think that people are just being practical when they ask for more than in the job offer. Also, I like to think that it's a test sometimes, especially when you're applying for roles that are in sales or in communications, where the recruiter or the HR manager might actually test how you back up your argument of asking more than what's in the job offer. How do you back it up? Do you back it up in a very respectful way, or do you get all the way defensive? Right. So that two people may ask the same thing, but in a very different way. May say it in very different terms, but the other one may come across a lot more positive than the other one. So I think it also draws back to empathy, being respectful. Also knowing as a job seeker that it's a test really. How do you back up your claims? Because eventually, when you are working, you have to present your ideas and convince the other. So I think it's more being practical, also really knowing how to effectively communicate what you want.
Okay, great. How about you, Rickson? What do you think?
Yeah, so most of us would be focused on the word greedy when you look at the question. No? But I like us to focus on asking more. How can you say if you're asking more? Because most of the time, let's treat compensation as something confidential. You're not supposed to talk about your compensation with others on the pantry during break time, no? Because these are special relationship that you build with the company. That's why these are confidential information. The amount that the company is willing to invest on you, and you as job seeker willing to be compensated on, no? So these are that's why we don't compare, because that's where greediness and all these come out. Okay, so we always treat our compensation as confidential, and we also treat the relationship as confidential in terms of what you can really give to the company and what because if you tend to always compare what the other guys are doing and you feel that how much they're getting and you're getting less, then it goes beyond greediness. It's now being comparing, things that put measurement on certain things that might not be directly an apple to apple comparison. No, so that's where the politics of work and
Mm-mm.
not so good work culture would come out. No? So we discourage that, of course, to make
Yes,
everything sustainable. No?
yes, that's a good answer. Because actually, I could already hear some people who want to ask. some follow-up questions in the Q&A. That's one of the biggest debates that came out after the tweet, which I will entertain na lang later because we're gonna focus on this question muna. So greed, are you greedy if you ask more than what is in the job offer? Well, what I could say is if you really know the worth or value that you can deliver, it's only fair to ask for an equivalent exchange. Or I don't want to use the word fair. In this case, it's equitable. It's only equitable to ask for an equivalent exchange. Because if you're not going to get an equivalent exchange, you don't get a return, an equivalent return on your assets, and you'll really feel like you're shortchanged and all of that. What do I say? What do I mean about assets? Some people don't see that money, that things that other than money are also assets. Your happiness, your energy, your sanity, they are also your assets. If you give it away in exchange for money, the best you could do is measure the worth of that and ask for an equivalent exchange in money. That is what's gonna make you have a practical compensation, right? In terms of greed, well, it's true with what Rickson said. There is really politics when it comes to salaries. There are HR professionals who actually don't agree that there are politics that come into play in salaries. Actually, there are politics in salaries. Social, political, and economical factors contribute to salaries. But I'll go into that on the third question later na yon. Now, about greed. Well, greed is such a strong word nga, di ba? But in terms of salaries, there is such a thing as being shortchanged, as I said. If a company provides you a compensation that's not an equivalent exchange to the assets you will give, then they are shortchanging you. That's it. They're not necessarily greedy. They're just shortchanging you. Maybe they don't realize it. That's why you're free to tell them that they did not realize it. Right? In the same way, if you ask for so much that is not an equivalent exchange to what they're giving, then you're also shortchanging them. It's a two-way thing. Hindi naman laging sila lang may kasalanan eh. It could be you're shortchanging them just like how they can also shortchange you. And Rickson will also say this later, but this is a relationship, right? And I'll let Rickson elaborate on that later. This is a relationship. Diba when you're in a relationship, you tell each other your problems, your needs. You don't just run around and tell people, hey, my jowa is so annoying, not giving me what I need. You don't air out your dirty laundry like that if you haven't given it a fighting chance. So at least, communicate to your employer your needs and your concerns so that they can solve it with you together, right? So that's gonna answer the second question. Before we go to the third question, Melboy and Rickson, what are your comments on our discussion on the second question?
Yeah, Melboy, if I may add.
Yes, go.
Yeah, so if you would notice, being some people might feel they're greedy, but if they ask for more, it's not about greed, because there's what we call the natural laws of inertia in workplace. So companies, if they feel they overcompensate you, sometimes they would demand more that
Yeah.
you would not notice. No? So you have to be careful also. No? We always ask for just the fair compensation for the fair work, because if they end up or start to keep on asking for more demanding work that you feel that it's not part of your job anymore, but you feel because you're overcompensated that you have to do it, no? So it has to be a balance. That's why I always go back to the first question when you talk about what's the fair, no? Because being greedy is subjective, no? But fair is not subjective. Both of you will agree to it.
Yes, that's right. Um, Fair is not always subjective. How about you, Melba? Anong masasabi mo sa sinabi ni Rickson?
So I agree with that, and I always like to put emphasis on how you ask for things and how you align with your manager on those things, right? If there's a clear action plan, okay, dear manager, this is I'd like to ask for more because of these things, and then your manager will say, okay, let's agree on you achieving these 1, 2, 3 things. Then after a few months, if you can clearly show that you've indeed accomplished 1, 2, and 3, then you can follow through on what you've asked for. But it's not like you can ask for it every week, right? That's gonna be a
It's not
bad.
sustainable. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
sustainable, and it will really give you a bad reputation. So it's really just how do you ask for it, what are your action plans, and can you show that you've accomplished that action plan that you had.
That's right. That's right. Kaya nga may probationary period, 'di ba, to check if you really are following through with what you promised. Right. Okay, awesome. So we have about 14 minutes left. We have a few minutes na lang for our third question so we can welcome some Q&A. What is our third question? Our third question for our episode today is what is the best salary? So we said, what is a fair compensation? Ngayon, what is the best salary? Okay, so uh, very tricky. How do you measure the best salary? Gusto ko unahin si Rickson eh. Gusto ko malaman yung sagot niya kasi ito yung pinakahinihintay ko na concept that people need to understand about salaries and employment.
So all of these what we're discussing about is synonymous to what we call marriage or corporate marriage. No, you're getting married to your company. So always remember that marriage and relationships are two-sided. So that's why you have the courtship stage. That's why when you get married, you still have the honeymoon phase. Where in your probationary period, the company will know you better. You will know the company better. If the fit is there, okay. The magic word for any relationship is fit. You're not getting the company because it's the highest paying company. No, it's the best fit for you. It's a relationship. So that's why we want to everyone to really understand this insight that what we're entering is in a relationship. That's why when you ask now for the best salary, what can you give to your relationship that the company will also give back to you? So it's a mutual benefit for both of you. That's why it's like a marriage. Unlike Bill Gates and Melinda, everybody knows that they're getting divorced. That's why companies and and employees also do divorce because it's really like a marriage, no? Sometimes it works out, sometimes doesn't. So it's not bad if it doesn't work out. Okay, what's really important is you go into a relationship hoping that this is the best fit for both of you so you can last a lifetime, no? So again, no, there are also fairy tale relationships for
Yes,
corporate.
yes,
Those people
yes.
first job until they retire, it's the same company. There are those. No? So I'm not sure if that's what you're seeking, but for me, treat your job and that engagement as a relationship so you get the best out of it. Well,
Yes.
that's
Yes,
that's my take for that.
and yung sinasabi mo nga kanina, Rickson, na off air na hindi lang dapat salary yung mini-measure, 'di ba? What you should be looking at in a relationship with your employer kasi nga parang jowa mo 'yan, yung mapapakasalan mo, parang ganon, 'di ba? What you're also looking for is what is the best benefits, hindi lang salary kasi it's a total rewards package that what they're gonna give you to cater to your needs because it's a reward for giving back to them in the relationship, 'di ba? So,
So it's the past. I think we were talking about the compensation that's going to be given to you would be based on your credentials of your past and your capability of your future. It's like in a relationship, you don't just court someone because you like him is past, no? And then the future wala, no? So it's a complete package. They get your wholeness, no? Your wholeness, no? So you also get the wholeness of the company. No, you cannot
yes.
say I'm just paid here in the office. I will not if I go out, I will not carry the brand of the office. There's no such thing. It's a package.
Yes, yes, yes. Something that people don't realize. Kaya nga, 'di ba? It's like if you get married to someone, you have a Mrs. on your name. Parang ganun din 'yun eh. You're affiliated to them kahit
That's
na
right.
you don't
That's right.
want to be, you chose to be affiliated with them, right? So, how do you measure the best salary? I like how you introduced that idea here so that people will know how to measure it better given that framework, no? But what about you, Melboy? What do you think given
Yeah.
everything we
Yeah,
discussed?
I love that analogy, no? Parang nagiging love story ng ating usapan, no? Ating people sometimes get so tense when they speak about salaries or. And I think I love what Rickson said about you becoming the right partner, right? What value can you provide? I'd like to say, like, What are the unique skills that you have which others don't? Baka mas guwapo ka. I don't know. But like skills like did you have you taken a course lately which you now actually apply real time? Have you started a business that actually adds to your skill base, right? And those are the things that were very unique for you as a fresh grad or whenever you apply for a job. And you have to find out what that is. So it's really a question that always goes back to yourself. How do you become and have you found it in yourself the things that you can give to your partner, to the right employer? And I also like what Danica said about the things that cannot be measured, right? There are things such as non-monetary benefits. Maybe you value more vacation leaves, right? Because you want to spend more time with your family. Those are also things that are part of the overall package, more than just the salary. You may get a very high salary, but if you only get a few days off, that might not be beneficial for you if you really value family time, time with your friends. So it's also really a question to yourself: what can you give to your partner, right? What can you give? What
Yes.
makes you unique? So that's my side.
Yes, what you can give and what you can accept, because what you give can also return to you, no? It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Gusto ko yung na-introduce ulit yung benefits. May sinabi rin kanina si Rickson off-air about the benefits that are taken for granted by employees of Philchai businesses. Gusto ko ibanggit mo yan dito, Rickson.
I
Ano
like
yun?
yeah I like to open this story to our viewers. No, if you go to Binondo area and you go one by one for each of these establishments, they have this old way of compensating. No? We call that a free meal, free lunch. Do you know that most are still practicing that now in Binondo area? Now, the Filipino Chinese community, if you look at the businesses, they do it not only because it's an added bonus, like you stay with the company because of the free lunch. No, of course it's not the only one, no, only benefit that you'll go for. But what's really that goes with it is you eat lunch together with your bosses. So imagine, no, during lunch you can talk about a lot of things like, how's your project, how's an update, no? Or even personal lives like, your kid. I think the company can offer a scholarship program for your son. So do you want to work with that? No? So imagine, no, corporate problems can be discussed during lunchtime, and the whole environment now becomes a family place wherein you
Yes.
you stay eat together with with your boss, no, or the owner. I mean, who and especially a bigger company. I mean, you will share a meal with the owner, and you can share your problems at work and even your personal. So it's a different approach in how compensation is done, which is a good practice, which is not really discussed in a lot of
Yeah.
companies when they build and create these creative packages.
Yeah. It's still value eh. Hindi naman siya measured by a number, but it's still
Yes.
value.
Yes.
Yes, oo. Okay, for my end, okay, so ito na yung siguro gusto ng mga tao malaman yung checklist natin about how to measure the best salary for yourself. Okay, if you really want to know how to measure it, you want a framework, you want a checklist, here is our checklist. Number one, you have to consider the budget of the company and your own budget that you want for your living expenses and maybe a little bit more so you can enjoy life. You have to know what it is, right? And knowing that, it can help you benchmark what kind of salary is best for you. That's one checklist. Second, in the box of the checklist is market conditions. I did mention earlier that social, political, and economical factors are taken into consideration in salaries, right? It's like stocks. Social, political, and economical conditions affect stocks. It's also volatile, just like the number in your salaries of your talent. Again, you're trying to sell your talent and capability, not you as a person. We're not promoting slavery. We're just trying to tell you that your talent has value and is also being measured just like stocks, but it's also volatile. You have to know what it is. And you can learn that by reading up about news and current events and having a little bit of empathy and social fluency. You measure all of that, you trial and error it, and then check which one is the best given the conditions. And third, employees who get compensated a lot have a very, very big contribution in three things in the company. Number one, if the employee can increase the salaries, increase the revenue of the company
Sales.
significantly, you will get a higher compensation. It's only fair and it's practical. You know why? Dahil ikaw ang dahilan kung bakit nag-increase yung revenue ng company. There's more funding. They'll reallocate some of the more of that funding to you para ma-motivate ka pa to continue increasing the revenue of the company, to motivate you to make it healthy, financially healthy. Second, if you can reduce the cost of the company, you will also have higher compensation. Chances are you will also have higher compensation. What are these roles? Kasi yung sa increased revenue, mga sales roles yan or mga frontliner roles. Yung those roles that reduce expenses, usually you would see accountants or mga IT professionals, because IT professionals automate things to reduce cost. If you are capable of reducing cost, then there's more funding that can be reallocated to you. So, the cycle continues. You can continue saving money for the company. Third, if you can increase stakeholder value, you're very attractive because, to companies, having big stakeholder value can be converted to cash, which is more funding, and it can help the company grow with more of the funds, diba? What do I mean by stakeholder value? Can you add more investors in the company, more followers, more clients, customers, employees, job seekers? If you're capable of doing that, the company can expand, diba? And that's what companies want. They want to grow, they want to expand. Ngayon, I know it can be political. For example, you might think, ay, hindi ako na-hire, pinili yung isa kasi kilala nila siguro si MVP. Sabihin natin kilala nila si MVP. Eh, paano kung si MVP kasi gusto mapalapit yung company doon so that the MVP can indirectly contribute to the company's growth? It could happen. Companies think like that. They look for people that are connected to you sometimes, and if you're connected to those people, they could pay higher for you kasi in this country, in the Philippines, relationships are very important. And in order for entities like businesses to grow, relationships are very, very important. So that's for my piece. Before we go to the Q&A, anything you want to add, Melboy and Rickson?
I'd just like to add for the best salary, perhaps learning. Right? More than
Yes.
culture. I think Rickson mentioned culture earlier, but a lot here is also learnings because it's quite hard to put a value on learning. But if you're put into an environment where you continuously get opportunities, where your learning path is really clear, that might even add a lot more value than other things that are part of the salary package because you exactly know where you're going and what you need to get there, and that in itself will increase your value in the job market.
Yes. Okay, how about you, Rickson?
Yes, no. So we've already said the last episode, no, the top three skills. Okay, creativity. You have problem solving, critical thinking, and then as what Melboy has mentioned, no, learning. So active learning and an analytical mind are those top five skills going towards 2025. So if you're able to develop that before you go to any companies that you target, you'll be able to get a right value. So always show that you have all these five skills moving forward from now on. And from there, you are assured that you'll get a high value in any application, in any engagement that you want to go for.
Yes, correct. Thank you. That was a nice ending and transition to our Q&A. Okay. Um, if there are any questions from the audience, we are welcome to taking any questions. Go ahead. We can wait. Siguro one question that
We'll do a plugging, Danica first, while
sige, sige.
we're waiting for the question. So we like to plug. We would like to promote mental health matters. This is the coming episode with Dr. Tito Almadin later tonight at 6 p.m. The title is "Got Toxic Habits." Okay, so watch out for that. Mental Health Matters next episode, which is this 6 p.m. The title is Got Toxic Habits by Dr. Tito Almadin.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Well, while people are busy typing siguro or something, I want to bring up a possible follow-up question from a client that might have been thinking about one of our answers today. So there is this discussion na salaries should be disclosed. Yeah. So we say that salaries should be confidential, but some people say salaries have to be disclosed so that people know if they're being paid fairly. And there is also this discussion, yeah, let's be controversial. So there is also this discussion saying that uh, companies just say that dapat secret lang daw yung salary because it controls the crowd. They're not gonna complain about how unfair their salaries are. So how do we address that question? That that mindset. I think ikaw yung nag-bring up nun, Dixon, no? Yeah, I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, well, salaries are confidential because it's like any relationship. There are parts of the relationship on how you agree. It's private between the two of you. Now, in terms of your contribution to your company, that's the one that we should be marketing out publicly.
Mm,
What you
mm,
have done for the company, we have to tell everyone what you have done. That's why we have awards, we have recognition, right? Because of that, and those are the right practices. Not how much you're getting from the company, no, how much you're contributing, because we're encouraging not getting more from the company but contributing more.
yes, okay. How about you, Melboy? What do you think about that?
Yeah, just to add to that, what have you contributed? But more so also, what have you learned? What are the things that you have given to your, not just to your boss, but to your coworkers? How have you been a good positive impact on your team? Right? At the end of the day, the more your team earns, the more the company earns. That will also flow back to the employees at the end of the day. They
Yeah.
recognize. So it's also about that.
Yeah, we
Yes.
have one question from Jomin Nuevo. Okay, is it fair to acknowledge that during salary negotiation, the power dynamics in any applicant-employer relationship naturally favors the employer? In example,
I like
regardless
this
of an applicant
question.
potential, majority of companies would offer less than 35,000 to fresh graduates, or companies can always not honor promises of salary raises in how many months from that application period, despite of new employees' capability or abilities. So thank you for
Mm.
sharing that question. No? So, Danica, you like to take it, or Melboy, anyone?
Sige,
Danica first, Danica first.
I can take that. So, ang tanong niya is it fair to acknowledge that during salary negotiation, the power dynamics in any applicant naturally favors the employer? Well, I say this to a lot of people. When you're in that room with the employer, you're playing cards. I always tell people that you're playing cards. You're laying out the cards that you want to reveal in the beginning, and you save your cards na very good at the end, 'di ba? You're playing cards. Yung leverage nyo, mamaya na yan. Usap mo na kayo, 'di ba? You don't
Oh,
reveal
yan yung
everything.
alas, no? The alas. You
Oo.
save the alas. Okay.
Oo. So when you say na employers are favoring themselves more in the conversation, I hate victim blaming, but in this case, no, you're already on equal ground when they invited you in that interview room, 'di ba? You actually need to just know that you have the power and the leverage just like they do. You have cards, 'di ba? It is a matter of identifying what those cards are na lang. Kasi if the discussion went around and let's say the employer is power tripping you, if that's what you think is happening, then that's because you didn't lay out all of your cards. That's really what happened. Just acknowledge that it's a card game so that you will have equal playing field when you negotiate for the salary and everything. What do you think about that, Rickson and Melboy?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, no? Playing cards, you always, it's a strategy game for both sides. It's not always one-sided. I always believe it's two-sided. So it's how you play the game that will you will arrive at the, no? It's not, it's a game that both of you needs to win. It's not a game that only one will win. This game, both of you need to win. That's the objective. So if
Mm, mm,
anyone failed the game, then it's game over. So that's
yeah,
why what you
that's
mentioned, it's like
tama.
playing a game. But the twist there is both of you need to win. So
Yes. I love it. I love that twist. How about you, Melboy?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of power in preparation, knowing where sort of is their budget, knowing what are the major challenges of the business, And if you're able to pinpoint those before you go into that conversation, that'll give you the leverage already. That puts you a bit above the rest and also a bit above what the employer is looking for. And that in itself, if you feel that you're really prepared, you know the questions and the answers to it, that will make you confident, and then that will not make you any victim at all. Actually, they might then be in a case where, oh, maybe that person is really worth a lot. So that also, so the win-win situation.
I like
Yes.
that a lot, Melboy. No? You do your homework so you can get more better cards. I
Yeah.
think
Yes, pag-aralan
that's
nyo sinong kausap nyo. Hindi ba pag
tama,
nagde-date kayo
tama.
ng mga tao sa Bumble, ini-stalk nyo muna yung profile niya or yung sa mga Tinder or whatever, saan nyo siya nahanap, you study first their social media before you meet them because you want them to laugh at your jokes and say you're cute. You know, you study about who you're talking to. Okay, last question before we end here. Do you think it's feasible to ask for asthmatic-friendly environment for people with respiratory ailments? Okay, so so the question is it okay to ask for a healthy environment for people with respiratory ailments? Hirap niyang sagutin. Ikaw muna, Rickson.
Well, most companies now have as part of their values, corporate values, inclusion. Okay, inclusion. So hindi lang asthmatic, pati gender concern. Okay, gender preference, wala ano na, they consider. Okay, genderless facilities. Okay, and then there are also later on in the future you can have also COVID. Okay, COVID related facilities that they will allow you to go, you know, like right now, no, there are distancing concerns, no, because IOTF requirement and government requirement, but inclusion would eventually be like any of those social requirements. Okay, it's not a legal requirement anymore, but it's a social requirement that you need to do as a company. So you need to accommodate not only asthmatic, but like right now, no, there are companies that allow you to have daycare. Okay, for those single parents, di ba? So single parents, they have a facility for daycare, no? So you don't have to worry about your kids. Your company will take care of it. So you see, it's a complete package, no? When you go into an application process, you always ask for all of these, no, on the side of the employer, and the employer will also ask from your side what you can contribute. So open book, it's the best approach in any of these discussions.
Okay, what about you, Melboy?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And it's always okay to ask, right? There's nothing wrong with asking, because if you don't ask, you will never know. And you will not lose anything by asking something. There's a power in asking. Maybe you get it. Perhaps you get a yes, perhaps you get a no, but at least you would know and you'll be able to explain your concern, right? And that in itself is already powerful and valuable enough, so that the people on the other end, they know, right? So it's always important to ask. So never be shy to ask those things.
Yes, correct. On my end, I think what her question is about occupational safety and hazard. Yes, we have laws that protect our employees from them having a hazardous working environment. If employers respect that, then they will give it to you because it's only a bare minimum requirement to give you respect, you know. Pero if they don't want to give it to you for some reason, then you have to think already if the employer is the best match for you or not. So yun lang masasabi ko. I know kasi Abby, she's one of our clients. She actually has this recurring problem about that. Okay, so I guess that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. Any last words, Rickson and Melboy?
No, I mean, for me, it's a relationship. It's like marriage. Always put your best foot forward in any application out there, because you're like getting into marriage.
Yes. How about you, Melboy?
Right, just to tap into that, Rickson, become the right person. No? Know where you want to be in a few years from now, right? So each and every single step is important. Each and every single step will elevate your relationship and you as a person.
Correct.
Yes. And for me, just to end, now let's go back to what I said earlier. The best salary for you, or the most fair salary for you, is the one that you and your employer wholeheartedly agree with. Because you're in a relationship, your needs have to be both met. And, you know, you need to see, or you need to show them that you are of value. And that's how you do it. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for coming. So, bye.
Stay safe.
Hey, everyone.